Courage. It is the result of confidence. The quote I want to give to you this morning is this. It comes from Hemingway, and he says, "Courage is grace under pressure." You know, as we look in the Bible and we see these different men and women who have lived incredible lives of moments of courage. Yeah, I think they were fearful. At moments, I think the majority of what I see, they were absolutely scared to death. But we're going to talk about King Saul's son, Nathan. He does this incredible thing. You can actually read the story in 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 14. Here it is. King Saul, he's with his men. He's down to 600 men who are fighters, soldiers. Now, this is the interesting thing. King Saul and his son Nathan are the only two that have a sword and a spear because the Philistine army has taken away all their weapons. The only thing that they have to carry with into battle is something that they would have like a farming tool, some to cut grass or an ox goad or this. That's all they have. So can you imagine going against this great army, the Philistines, and the only thing that you have to fight with is something that you carried from farming? Well, that's exactly what's going on. And they're standing, and there's fear that's in the camp. But I love this next part. What happens is Nathan, he has this courageous moment. He gets this idea. He takes his armor bearer and they go out against the Philistines. He goes and climbs up to a cliff. And him and his armor bearer has this moment. And I want to read exactly what happens in this moment. It says this in 1 Samuel chapter 14, starting with verse 6. It says this. Let's go across the outpost of those pagans. I love that part. It says, Jonathan said to his armor bearer, perhaps the Lord will help us, for nothing can hinder the Lord. He can win a battle, whether he has many warriors or only a few. Do what you think is best, the armor bearer replied. I am with you completely. Whatever you decide. I love that. That's men hanging together one-on-one, and they're going into this courageous moment. And then Nathan says, all right then. He says, we will cross over and let them see us. If they say to us, stay where you are or we will kill you, then we will stop and not go up after them. But if they say this, come on up and fight, then we will go up. That the Lord will give us a sign that he will help us defeat them in that moment. When the Philistines saw them coming, they shouted, look, the Hebrews are crawling out of their holes. Then the men from the outpost shouted to Jonathan, come up, come here, we'll teach you a lesson. Come on and climb right behind me, Jonathan said to his armor bearer, for the Lord will help us defeat them. So they climbed up from both hands and feet to the Philistines, fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer killed those who came behind them. They killed some 20-some men, and their bodies were scattered over a half an acre. Suddenly, panic broke out in the Philistine army, both the camp and the field, including even the outpost of raiding parties. Just then, an earthquake struck, and everyone was terrified. See how God works in the moments of what I would call courageous moments. See, courage is not the absence of fear itself. Without a doubt, we're living in a moment where fear is rampant. The media is feeding us in our lives and telling us to be impactful for fear. Matter of fact, they're even saying now that our food of what's going on in Tyson and all these other things that are going on, that we're not going to have enough pork. Well, I believe that is absolutely nothing but fear-based lies, my opinion. But we're fighting a COVID-19 without a doubt. But it is not the absence of fear itself, but it's having the courage to stand in the moment. The second one is this, is that courage comes from the heart. Courage stands in moments, men. Moments of when you don't have a clue of what's going on. Some of you even today, maybe you're sitting home, you've lost your jobs. You don't know what's going to happen. Where is the next place I'm going to work? Courage stands in the moment because courage comes from the heart of believing that God will go against the enemy and give you a place in the workforce and finding a new job. Courage will take you to moments of going and looking and searching. The next one is this, is that courage stands in Christ himself. I don't know about you guys, but I need a lot of courage. And every moment of every day in my life, I go before the Lord. I read the Bible. It's important for me. I get into the book, men, and I encourage you to do the same. Also, too, I pray, Lord, help me be courageous in moments today. Help me to be in moments when fear wants to overtake me of everything that is going on in my life. I believe, men, that today, more than ever, we need men to be courageous and men to be vital men who live a courageous life. In closing, I want to share with you this morning. It says this: be a kind of man who faces life's challenges head on, growing through them, being bold, brave, and courageous in all that you do. Even if you're living at home today, be a man of courage with your family. Be a man of courage with your children. Be a man of courage as you look to what's next in your life. Live a life that is courageous. Be vital. Thanks for joining us today.